All right, good morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to call this Environment Committee meeting.
Good morning, Bill.
Good morning. May 1st, 2025 meeting to order. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and good morning. I'm Bill Emerson, Lake County Surveyor, and chair of this committee. We'll kind of go around the room and give introductions. If we could start with them.
Jen Birchfield, Natural Resources Planner with NERC.
Kenny Luther, Director of Environmental Programs at NERC.
Flora Baum, NERC staff.
Kathy Sippel, Earth Charter Indiana and Northwest Indiana Region Resilience.
Katie Hoffman, St. Eugenians.
Tom Black, Town Planner.
Linda Plum, Town of Potawatomi, Detroit. Reggie Kurthals, MS4 program.
Ryan Lissick, Director in Indiana.
Catherine Malkama, Lake Michigan Coastal Program.
Joe Exel, Lake Michigan Coastal Program.
Meredith Stillwell, NERC staff.
Jenna Ambrose, Director in Indiana.
Connie Winchala, Highlanders for Sustainability.
Jenny Dimitrov, Board of Sustainability Commission.
Raheem Evans, Item.
Michelle Murday, IDEM.
Tom Banner with Mercy.
All right, thank you everyone for being here. We did get our minutes distributed from February 6th, from the February 6th meeting. Hope you guys had a chance to look at those. We have a motion.
Can I make a motion to approve the minutes, but if I have a question about, not necessarily the minutes, but something that's in it, can I do that later?
I mean, yeah, if it's a correction to the minutes.
No,
Oh,
no.
Okay, we can talk
Okay.
about.
I move to accept the minutes as presented.
All support.
All right, we had a motion. Second, any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Minutes are adopted or accepted, I guess. Do we have anybody sign up for public comment?
No, nobody signed up for it.
All right, sounds like we have a Reggie comment, so.
Well, I'm not sure where this would go. Are you gonna do a comment on this, on the 2 workshops that we had? Isn't that in here?
The Sensible Tools workshop?
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, I'll wait till then.
Okay.
No, our presenters are here.
All right, so our presenter's not here under item number 3, so we'll kind of go a little bit out of order, but that's okay. So we'll jump to item 4, and Jen, we'll be asking for your update on the community.
Yes, Communitree was able to procure trees. For those of you not familiar with Communitree, it is a partnership of multiple organizations and partners in Northwest Indiana working together to create a more sustainable, diverse, healthy urban forest across Northwest Indiana. NERC's main role in that, we've been a founding partner in that initiative since 2016. And we do currently have a grant from U.S. Forest Service through Great Lakes Restoration Initiative to procure trees, really high quality, 1.5-inch caliper, nice native trees to distribute to community partners. So that could be municipalities, parks departments, public works departments. Increasingly, we're seeing applications from churches, school groups, things of that nature. We were able to procure and distribute 268 trees this spring through that program. In addition, we have started a new program this year in partnership with the Indiana Department of Natural Resources to basically do an invasive tree replacement program. If a resident applies for a tree and shows proof, before and after picture basically, that they have removed an invasive tree, they can apply and come and pick up a free native tree as a replacement. So we did order 21 trees through that. Most of them have been distributed. We do have a few stragglers left that people need to just come and pick up that they couldn't make it the day of the distribution event. But so yeah, in total, it's 289 trees then that were distributed by NERC through our community programs in the spring. We do anticipate having another round in the fall. The current grant that we have will continue for 2 to 3 years, depending on how quickly we distribute the trees. So I think that's it. We had a really successful distribution event. We always do a training workshop for tree recipients so that they know how to properly plant and maintain their trees.
All right. And Kathy?
I was just gonna report out, I know I promoted these to people before, and Reggie mentioned it as well. We held 2 workshops using our Sensible Tools Handbook and Sensible Tools Plus. Sensible Tools Handbook Plus? I don't know where the plus goes. Anyway, the original Sensible Tools, which is really how to be a planner, or how planning works at the local government level. And that one is heavily targeted towards planning commissioners and zoning board of appeals members. We didn't actually get a lot of those, but we had a pretty full house for that. And then 2 weeks later, on April 22nd, we had a follow-up workshop, which was using a little more of the Sensible Tools Plus to learn more about green infrastructure and how you can incorporate that in planning and zoning. We had over 25 people, I think, for that one. So that was our official commitment so far for this year, but we're planning to continue doing those workshops, and we also are hoping to get more input on ways to do that. How can we get more to the targeted audience, which are the non-professionals on community boards. I think it's a good tool. I know I've mentioned before to talk to them about ways they can use that. So I don't know, Reggie was at them, George, you were at them. I don't know if you guys want to say about it. I felt like for our first time, we haven't done those workshops since I came here 8 years ago, so.
I know. Incredible, both of them, okay? And I think that, and I submitted this in my comments, to readjust the time for these, because the April 22nd should have included all of these people that are lining up to serve on municipal sustainability committees to understand what it is that it takes to be part of a committee. When you have a community that has a group working on a comprehensive plan for the town, you have a park department working on a all these people are working on their own things, where you were able to show how you bring all of those this again or not, but if we could do another event for groups that are working on sustainability, I'll help you get someone to sponsor that event and help pay for it if you need that. And I think that time-wise, we need to talk to these committees. These are municipal residents that serve on these committees, so evening time is probably that doesn't interfere with their work schedule. That 4 to 7, the time is, who cares? But yeah, so if we could do it in maybe 2 hours or something like that, but I think we need it again. These communities are really popping up with these sustainability committees, and particularly now when we're not sure what type of state and federal funds are going to be available to communities, that we need to make sure they have these tools in their hands. I gave them to a couple of the handouts I had. I gave mine to 2 communities. They were overwhelmed with them. So you did a good job. We just need to do it again.
It's always challenging to figure out, you know, the people that they have a day job and they're doing this as volunteers, so they want to go in the evening.
Yep.
And then other people want to go in the day, and then I understand that there's a lot of the actual committees and commissions, they meet in the evening. So We're gonna continue to talk about it, and we can talk more about that, and I do need to reconvene the sustainability, support group and figure that out too, so.
What about looking at creating a roadshow? Something that you could contact the sustainability committees and say, we're gonna come in to your meeting, your time, your location, and talk to you for an hour or an hour and a half on what this is.
We didn't talk about that too, how to make a road show or, a list of different topics, you know, would people rather go like chapter by chapter, different, I mean, like your plan commission might want one 101 thing and then other groups might want other things, so.
Yeah, just presenting to community plan commissions, a 10, 15-minute overview of what we're doing, it's probably a good idea.
Don't forget the townships.
Right,
I'm gonna have to.
right.
We're coming.
Yeah. So we'll just have to figure out, and how much can we do ourselves, because it was, Purdue has their own citizen planner program, and melding those together took, some time and effort and challenge, so, I just wanted to let people know that those happen, and we are gonna try to plan on them again, and we could also tailor them for different, like, I feel like there's different needs for a community that's pretty much built out versus a community that's growing rapidly, versus, you know, a community that's in revitalization, redevelopment mode, so.
Well, don't be afraid to reach out for help. I mean, the people on this committee, the Lake Michigan Coastal Board Committee, you know, we can be there and help you.
Yeah, you could give me a little script, I can go to the plan commission meetings.
Oh,
They're-
we know
they're-
that.
You know, they're already meeting, you know, they're already there, so I can just go and give a little, you know, stomp, I'd have to do that.
Yeah, like I'd be interested in fine tuning, the green infrastructure one, maybe to talk about the MS4 permits and post-development and how that would tie into that. We
You
didn't
can-
really mention that too much because I'm not following that rule too much anymore.
But you could look at it
Yeah.
after the annual meeting.
Yeah.
And see what new things item has on the table for that, what the EPA is going to suggest, and come with some new information.
Thank you for doing that.
Also, you know, park board and stormwater.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there's a lot of committees that need this type of fundamental information.
Because we do, I mean, we mentioned at the full commission meeting, but sometimes that info doesn't always make it back, so.
Everybody loved those books. Do we have to figure out a way to
Yeah, get
publish more of those books?
ones that you can touch.
I know they're online, but people still like the hardcover.
Yes.
Maybe we could sell them. Okay, we'll get back to you on that. We had a
Just think
limited.
about it. Yeah.
So you of all people know that I overprinted on a project several long time ago, and I'm never doing that again. I'm underprinting because they're still in their stupid garage.
I know, I keep giving them away.
I know. And our presenter is here,
Yes.
and I think is her things up on there. Yeah. Okay. Mallory is. You can introduce yourself, but she's the newest item person running Partners for Clean Air. And she's going to tell us all about it, but we're making a concerted effort to kind of reboot and regrow Partners for Clean Air, keep doing the good stuff we're doing. And so, here's Mallory. Tell us all about it.
Hi guys, sorry I was a few minutes late, got caught by a train and then the extra long line, it was a little bit bad. Thank you. All right, so as Kathy mentioned, I joined IDEM about almost a year ago in June. I'm the senior manager in the Northwest Regional Office for the Compliance and Technical Assistance Program, CTAP. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with that program, but when I'm not coordinating the Partners for Clean Air, I'm working as a manager in that program, and we offer free, confidential environmental compliance counseling. There we go. And then, slide back. Perfect. And so that's one of that's what I'm doing when I'm not coordinating this program. This program is the other part of my job. And so some of you may be familiar with PCA, some of you may not be, but it's an organization that's been around for a very long time. So it was developed in the mid-90s as a voluntary partnership program under the Clean Air Act, and they sprouted up kind of all over the country. It was formed in Indiana in 1999, and actually NERC was the organization that was running that. So do any of you remember PCA when it was NERC run? Were you a part of that at all? I know you guys were, okay.
Ms. Reggie Corthals was an early.
Oh, excellent. So then you've seen it all. NERC ran the program for a long time, and then at some point IDEM transitioned to be the main coordinator. But it's the organization itself nationally has been around for a long time. Now we're pretty disjointed. We're kind of here and there. There's another PCA run by MACOG. There's 2 for the state, including us. But the coalition itself is built to include businesses, industries, government entities, community groups, and individuals. And currently our PCA in Northwest Indiana has all of those. And the primary goal here is education, right? Education for the community, education for our own members about what are the actions we can be taking to improve air quality in our region, in our communities. And I was thinking about this morning, actually. I think our region is incredibly unique in that way, right? We have major historic industry. We have a thriving business community. We have one of the largest freshwater lakes in the world, and we have a national park that has some of the largest biodiversity in the country, right? And that's all within these 3 Northwest Indiana counties, Lake Porter and LaPorte County, right? So because we are at this incredibly interesting intersection with all of those various stakeholders, our members are, you know, essentially a cross-section of those stakeholders. This year we did add BP, Adams Radio Group, and Dunes Learning Center to our coalition, which again is, the attempt is to really try and reach out and bring everybody to the table. Each member that joins PCA has to be engaged in some sort of voluntary action to improve air quality, right? But the concept of air quality and its improvement can be sort of vague and theoretical, right? So what we're trying to do now is make it a little bit more concrete. So in terms of our members, the main things that we talk about when we talk about air quality improvement actions are energy conservation, emissions reduction, and then organizational policies and incentives, right? And so by that I mean for energy conservation, it could be something as simple as replacing incandescent lighting with LED lights, setting your thermostats at kind of more energy efficient temperatures, both in the winter and the summer, small things. And it can be big things like conducting energy audits and doing big equipment upgrades for efficiency's sake. In terms of emissions reductions, what do we mean? We mean like landfill diversion programs, replacing your gas-powered equipment, instituting anti-idling policies where you're at, or some of the bigger things, which are developing sustainability plans, making carbon neutrality pledges, you know, adopting clean fleets, right? So it kind of spans the gamut, the small things you do every day, which if done at an organizational level could have some big impacts, and then the more bigger initiatives that our members can undertake. And then in terms of organizational policies and incentives, stuff like offering remote work, carpooling programs, green contracting, and rewards for groups that are actually implementing energy reduction initiatives. So this is our current list of members. I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of what we're doing, right? So our initiatives, scholarships, education, and outreach is kind of how we've created these 3 buckets for this year. Our scholarships. So we have annual scholarships that we award to qualifying high school seniors in Lake Porter and LaPorte counties. Our application period for that just closed yesterday, as a matter of fact. They are for students that are going to be pursuing post-secondary educational goals that are aligned with clean air and public health. It is as general as it sounds, right? So it can be adjacent, it can be tangential, but what we find is a lot of the folks that end up getting these scholarships are people that are going into public health, people that are going into engineering, right? People that are going into jobs that are involved in some way in the infrastructure or the work that has an impact on air quality and can go into that work with a sort of a sustainability mindset. It's applicable to kids that are heading into college in the fall, but also trade school certifications, which is an aspect of the program that I think we'd really like to try and build out this year, right? Is letting people know that this is money that's available to folks that are going to be going to trade schools in the fall. Our tradesmen are kind of on the front lines of a lot of these activities that end up having some sort of air quality impact. And so it would be great to be able to support them as they're going through their certification. So far, we've awarded over $32,500 in scholarships to date, which is great. And obviously that number will go up this year when we award our next round of scholarships. We acknowledge our scholarship winners at our annual luncheon that we have. This year it's going to be June 12th at Hammond Arena. It is free to register. I have some little slips if anybody wants to take a QR code if they're interested in attending. come, meet these really incredible kids, meet the members, learn a little bit more about what we're doing. So we're excited about that. Education, right? So when we talk about education, it's kind of multi-layered. We want to continue to promote and implement some of the air quality improvement actions that our members are doing, through energy conservation, emissions reductions, and policies and incentives. We also want to educate our members on what are some other things they could be doing, right? What are some other opportunities out there, some big changes, some small changes they could be making to improve their air quality, the impact of their activities on air quality. Another aspect of that is the dissemination of Ozone Action Day alerts. Do you guys, I assume you all know what that is since you're on the Environment Committee here. Does anybody not know what I mean when I say an Ozone Action Day alert? Okay, awesome. All right, so then you guys know, you already know. You know that we're obviously sending those out because on those particular days, ozone is at a level that's high, and depending on how high it is can depend on how sensitive populations or the population at large can respond to it from a health perspective. You also know that our area is one of the few counties in Indiana that is in non-attainment for ozone, right? Which means we're kind of battling the ozone already. And so when it's an Ozone Action Day and it's going to be even higher, that means that every little action you take could actually have a potential benefit in trying to keep the numbers down. And as part of that, we promote Air Quality Action Day tips on Ozone Action Days. And so those are the type of tips about, don't idle your car. If you can carpool today, that would be great. Don't drive your car. Don't fuel your car during the day. Don't use your gas-powered lawn equipment. Opt for your battery-operated equipment if you can. Turn off the lights if you're not using the room, energy conservation, emissions reductions, things that we should all be doing anyways, but on Ozone Action Days, we should especially be doing. And then the last aspect of the educational work we're working on is just trying to cover air quality initiatives and member programs, and then, amplify what's happening in this area, whether it's through the PCA or any of our member organizations, or even organizations that are not our members, that's related to air quality through the PCA quarterly newsletter. And then outreach. There's a number of outreach opportunities and events that we do throughout the year, regional Earth Days, and we'll be at the Porter County Health Fair on June 13th. The second one, the Citizen Science Symposium, is something that I'm particularly excited about this year. This came with the Dunes Learning Center when they became a member. They help coordinate a lot of science projects with a number of area middle schools that work on those projects and report on them back. It can be air quality, water quality, land quality. They're working on an air quality module actually through the support of NERC and Dry Clean Indiana with purple air monitors, and the students are learning how to work with those and how to read air quality meters. And then they have this big symposium at the state park in May, and hundreds of middle schoolers come and then kind of work their way through the state park and meet different experts in different areas. So Partners for Clean Air is involved with that this year. We're going to be there talking about air quality. So it's a new but exciting outreach event that we'll have. And then a number of other things. Obviously, I mentioned our scholarship luncheon. We do have an air quality day at Gary Slusher Railcats at the beginning of August. And then a number of other events where we partner with Drive Clean Indiana. And then we started going last year, and it was excellent, at the Urban League Scholarship Fair here in Northwest Indiana. That was a great way for us to get out information about our scholarship. So we are always looking for new opportunities for outreach and new opportunities for partnership, which kind of leads into sort of the goals, right? So we're in this post-COVID period of reconnection, re-engagement, and expansion. Right? We want to reconnect and re-engage our existing members, and we want to think thoughtfully about expanding and bringing more people to the table. We really would like to figure out a way to continue to engage with schools and community groups. A part of that is our development of a grant program. We're working on it now. It's something that we wanted to make available for potentially teachers or even certain community groups. I know the Porter County Parks Board came to one of our meetings and said they could potentially make good use of that money. So some sort of programming related to air quality and the environment. Again, I mentioned the Citizen Science Symposium is another attempt to kind of re-engage or reach out to the schools. And then we've also been throwing around a potential anti-idling campaign with a school as a test case to start potentially next year. So we'll see how that goes. I always think it's going to be easy, and then there's like 10 more hoops you have to jump through to get there, which I'm sure you guys are all very familiar with. So, but again, our goal is to engage with the schools and community a little bit more. We really want to build more partnerships with community groups and sustainability boards. I heard you guys mention they're kind of popping up everywhere. And the ability to engage them, have them involved with the organization, have them connect with each other, I think is something that we are very interested in building on this year. And then just creating more connections and educational opportunities for members in the community in general. You know, you can see it in our members, we're all coming from different backgrounds, different experiences, but I think that there's been a real value in bringing all of those people to the table to talk about initiatives and ideas and share that information. So that's kind of the outlook, that's what we're going for. There is a bunch of information on membership levels if anybody's interested. We have free memberships and then there's paying memberships too. The money that goes in paying memberships all goes towards programming and scholarships. So however many paying members we have, that's kind of the pot of money we have to give away for scholarships and grants and programs. And yeah, we just rolled out a new website. We're excited to reconnect and have people come out and join the organization. I have some materials. By the way, if anyone has been able to successfully do outreach without killing trees and printing paper, I would love to hear from you because I printed these this morning and it like killed me to do it. So I do have some materials if anybody wants to take some, and little flyers. If anybody is interested in attending the luncheon, it would be a great way to just kind of meet us, learn what we're about. The commissioner comes and speaks, and we'll have other speakers from the organization as well. So thank you guys for your time. Sorry, I was a little bit late. Yeah.
I was really excited for Mallory to come because I think when we started adding a paid membership option in order to have funds to do stuff, because sometimes people need to do things that are visual. I think it turned off a lot of people because before that, and also when there was a much bigger, more attention to the ozone generally, like every organization in the region was a member, like my church was, I don't know, there was a lot of membership, but all you had to do was take a pledge. That was all, there was no other, and then basically NERC and IDEM made everything happen. So I think when we went to more of there's a payment to be in a steering committee and then we want you to actually put time in. We lost some people, so I think it's an important time to reboot. So there's the option still, we still use everybody to get on board and pay attention to Ozone Action Days. You don't have to pay money, but you know, the scholarships have been cool. So that's what I wanted to. You should all be partners for clean air because this is the environmental committee there. That's what I meant.
I think it's important to note that as far as education outreach campaigns, it all adds up to Cleaner Air is probably one of the most successful in the state of Indiana. In looking at how we meet that with the water quality program, the new EPA motto is stormwater never travels alone. So we were trying to figure out how we take that and equal it to all adds up to cleaner air. So we sent a group of people out to gas stations and said, we're going to ask you a few questions and try to see what the answers are. What do you do on an Ozone Action Day? And every person had at least 2 things that they remembered that they do. Don't top off your tank, don't cut your grass, and then we've got more, okay? So being able to go back and say that, and you know this because we started it from the beginning, about how you take, it all adds up to cleaner air and make it sustainable. We're trying to do the same thing with water, to make it sustainable. So as you move on with cleaner air, building on that should be something easy to do.
Yep.
Hi, great presentation. I've got a question more on sort of the side of champions in the region that could demonstrate their commitment to clean air, particularly on Ozone Action Days. And just curious if any large businesses are voluntarily reducing their outdoor landscaping or those kinds of things, but then also our industry, which is a significant contributor to the precursors for ozone. And I'm just curious if there's anything built into the permits or any sort of voluntary action we could take when the weather conditions are right to set up an Ozone Action Day, that they would voluntarily downscale their activities.
So I can't necessarily speak to the ins and outs of the permits, but I can tell you that of the major industry members that are part of this organization, that's absolutely among the things we talk about on days where there are Ozone Action Days. So we talk about not using VOC high solvents, right? So changing up or completely getting rid of ththose entirely and having low VOCs in the facilities, right? So I know that our members are working towards that. Figuring out about whether or not there's the ability to limit production, right, is another thing that we talk about on the committee. On these days where it's really high, you know, do we need to watch the production numbers to be careful about the emissions that are going out? So yes, those are among the things that the members are talking about. But you're exactly right, like you've hit it on the nose, right? We're in an area that is in non-attainment. We're talking about a clean air organization, and a lot of our members are industry members, right? And so figuring out how to have those conversations and how to talk about what are some kind of large scale things and small scale that they could be doing is something that we're always doing. You asked about, there's another one that you asked about too, about cutting grass and landscaping. Yeah, I think I'm trying to think of our members, the ones who are doing it. A lot of our members, especially the ones that are national, international organizations, they're getting the messaging from on high, right? So we're talking about industries that within the last 10 years now have sustainability plans, now have carbon neutrality pledges, now have kind of decrees from their parent companies that say, we need you to start tracking this stuff, right? So that has also kind of helped the conversation because it's something that's already happening from the top down in a lot of these industries. And so we are trying to determine, you know, what is it that you're doing on a local level? And a lot of the actions I just mentioned are among them. So I hope that answers it a little bit.
At one time, all of the major industries that contributed to air quality conditions in Northwest Indiana were part of and met for the Clean Air Program. Do you still have all of those industries participating?
Now I can't speak to the ones that did before. What I can tell you is, sorry, everyone's getting a little whiplash. We've got
Most of them except US Steel.
okay. Yeah, I have not. If anybody hasn't been at US Steel, personally know on a first name basis, let me know. I can have
They
you
don't-
hook them.
they don't-
They
They
used to
don't
have an
form.
environmental department.
Yeah, they don't have people to do
Yeah.
that stuff. They used to be in everything.
So now obviously we have, I mean, BP joined this year, Cleveland Cliffs, and that are the two kind of big ones that come to mind. But our interest is bringing them. I mean, if there are ones that you see that are on this list that should be, tell me. My favorite thing is bothering people to join this organization, so let me know. Because what I think would be really great long-term is to have all of those folks at the table, along with all the community organizations, with the Dunes Learning Centers, with the folks that, you know, that are doing the research, that are working on sustainability commissions, having a place where we can all sit around the same table and talk about ideas and potential initiatives, even though we're all coming from very different places.
I mean, to me, the things that I would like to do that are the most challenging for us, I would like us to have the ability to switch a meeting to remote from live if it's an air quality action day, but I can't because the law says that you have to be there. Only people that are there can vote. So yeah, even if we have a policy, they still can't. So I can't really.
But good point for PCA meetings, I'm gonna steal that one.
You know, and the other one I think is a hard one to control is landscaping contractors, because maybe they have a route, they have so many jobs. I mean, I particularly want to scream when I see like NDOT's contractors, gigantic mowers and mowing the road, right? You know, but I'm guessing they're like 5 steps removed. So, I mean, there's a lot of challenges.
NDOT has a new department and they have new staff on the environment. They're working on water. So let's just say, especially the LaPorte office, and say, hey, you know, send somebody.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea, reach out to them. I had a question, speaking of the non-attainment, that's, I mean, maybe for the room too, but a consistent question, I guess, complaint that I get is, you know, the air quality emissions for individual private vehicles, especially if you're low income.
Oh, is this the emissions testing? We hate having to get our emissions tested for the first time. Always
And
cracks me
so-
up. It takes like 15
I know
minutes,
it-
but yes, I
You
hear
try
you.
to explain why we do it, we're non-attainment and things like that, but I do get the argument. I mean, if you're a low-income person, you're driving a beater and you're trying to make it, and then you get hit with something like this. So I know there were some grants at one point for reimbursement for repairs to cars to get the emissions, to get their emissions to qualify. I don't know if those are still in place. That's kind of for the room too.
The company that does the testing, I don't know what they're called these days, but they've tried to provide funding for that in the past, but I don't think the state subsidizes that, so.
No.
Yeah, I'm not sure about state. I know I see Michelle, the director of our office, in the audience. Are you aware of any state stuff?
I'm not sure because I don't know where exactly that program is.
Yeah. I know that the EPA has historically had funding for upgrades.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
That would
gonna
be
be the
great
case.
outreach to like, at mechanics shops or whatever. I remember a personal story. I was driving the 1991 Plymouth Acclaim when I was living in Whiting, going to law school, commuting, or whatever, and it failed. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have the money to fix this up. It's a $500 car I'm driving. And as I drive by BP, I'm like, well,
Sure.
what's going on? There should be a way for, lower income people to have some sort of reimbursement or help.
That's a great idea.
But
No, and I agree with you. That's something I think that we encounter, right? Which is getting folks to understand the importance of them taking the individual actions in the face of knowing that there are industries that are, also playing a big part as well.
Yeah.
But the importance of everybody acting kind of across the board. But you're right, and that's an excellent idea. This is why I want people to come to our meetings, so we can figure out how we can get more money to pay for stuff like that.
We did have a call with the new commissioner, Biden, and I mentioned that in the past when they were doing SIP things and trying to get an attainment, we had this committee acted as an air quality steering committee for that effort for the state. And we had a lot of participation from industry in that particular endeavor. And because I think they're supposed to study this issue over the course of this next year. I think that's what the legislation told them, and that we could, Michelle.
If you go to cleanaircontact.com, there's an application on there for the repair assistance.
also do
They do have
I
it,
thought they did, yeah.
but I feel like that could be an option instead of getting rid of it. Could you boost that or something? I don't know, but anyway, I did offer that, that we could, maybe this committee or NERC could convene people to help advise on that again if they wanted.
And then I'll send it out to all the MS4 communities.
Isn't there a bill in the state legislature to end the
Emissions testing? I think so. I haven't heard anything about
I
it.
think it was turned into a study or a investigation.
They tried the governor to that, tried to separate Indiana from Chicago air initiatives so that we wouldn't have to be in the non-attainment area. It didn't work, okay? There was just too much drift and that type of thing, so it was still included.
And I do want to mention that in addition to helping low-income people with, those repairs, this emissions testing is kind of skewed in that I drive a Prius and I have to go for an emissions test. I mean, the technician kind of laughs at me having to go. But then I also live on Kennedy Avenue in Highland, which is a through route for lots of truck traffic, and I'm pretty sure that the particulate matter in our neighborhood is really high because of the diesel that is just spewing out of these semis, and they don't have to get tested. So it makes no sense to do it that way.
At least on the diesel front, the only reason I know this is from my previous job. Before I joined IDIM, I was an environmental attorney for 12 and a half years. So on the diesel side and mobile source emissions, I do know for sure that there's been a lot of work to upgrade and update those trucks so that the emissions are considerably lower. And that's been happening over the last 15 to 20 years. So they may not necessarily be pulling in for your conventional emissions test, but every product that hits the street, and certainly every new one, and ones within the last 10 years have all had to have upgrades so that they are not putting out the type of pollution that they were. So at least that has happened in some respect, but I understand that discrepancy.
I would say, like Ryan and I spent a lot of the time spitballing this because we think that there's grants and then there's new engines. So we think that big transportation companies and big fleets, they buy new vehicles all the time, but there's a lot of maybe mom and pop shops and maybe, scrap haulers that are driving 50-year-old diesel engines. And so how do we, again, find them and help them get it something cleaner? We spitball a lot of ideas, but we haven't found a money tree to do it with. So
you should watch consent decrees that come out. There's at least one consent decree that required buybacks, so that could be another avenue too. Depending like settlements.
How do I get who's on those committees to pick those? Because I've been telling this one to everybody I can think of for 10 years at least. Anyway.
Any other questions?
Oh,
or-
so go to the website and
Yes.
sign up to be a green member, which is free, and just, all you have to,
One follow-up question,
Oh.
just because it was in the news recently. There's a facility on Burns Harbor that just reached a settlement with EPA because they were in non-attainment on their air permits. It was $200,000, so drop in the bucket. But I'm just curious, to Kathy's point, when these deals are being made, for, consent decrees or fines, and, there's an opportunity for a set to come out of that, how can community members concerned about the impacts of those industries get involved to advocate for the types of programs that they would find meaningful in their community?
Great question. I don't have specific experience with SEPT. My experience was with an enforcement action in my previous job, and it was a consent decree. I know that those draft decrees, part of it is following the docket, right? So the cases that are currently pending, following whether it's through the environmental advisory board or I don't think that's what they call it anymore in the state, but whether it's happening at the administrative level, whether it's at the state court or federal court, is oftentimes they will make public the draft agreement. And sometimes they will welcome public comment. And so there is sort of a window between this is what we tentatively agreed on to this is what's been finalized by the court, where folks can review and potentially weigh in. Some of those, like with the SEPT, I'm not sure, they could actually have a public comment component about that, but it just kind of depends on the action. What I would recommend is just, it's the most boring thing ever, but following the dockets. Yeah, following the case dockets as it goes
And
through.
like apart from reading it in the Times after the fact, is there a way to become aware of it before the deals are being made?
Oh, do you have an answer to that question, Randy?
So, in regards to sets, I can take note of that and get back to you on how specifically and what that means. There's some settlements, there's some that
What's the value?
We can't hear.
And then the only other thing I'd say is, I signed up for them too. Through IDEM, you can sign up for updates to their pages, and so there's kind of like running, you may already be doing this, like running dockets for every conceivable environmental issue you can think of, every change to every webpage. And it'll come up, so like if there are agreements or things that are up for public review and comment, it'll come up and it'll tell you how you can comment, how you can review it, so.
that is a little nuts to get that many, there's been a change.
It
to
is
the
nuts.
other one.
I get probably like
It'll tell you
25
what
page
changed.
updates a day, and it's like they're minor. It's like I moved a comma, but some of them are substantive.
I know.
It's good to know.
I can't keep opening those now.
Mhm.
All right, thank you.
All right. Thank you guys very much for your time.
Thank you.
What, do we see you about the event on the 12th?
Yes, and I will also put little all the trees.
We'll send out
I'll put them out,
we can forward out.
and you guys can take whatever you want. Yeah, there's just some information. Is it all right? Should I just stick it right here on this table?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, and
Thank
then
you.
take what you want. These are the ones that have the little QR code that'll take you right to the registration page for tickets. So.
All right. I guess we will move on. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll go on to our new business. Last meeting we had a really good discussion on some of the funding challenges and grant cancellations coming out of Washington that may or may not affect some of the work that we do here on this committee and at NERC in general. So and my plan was to circulate this earlier, so I apologize, but hopefully you guys can take a minute here and review it, or hopefully you had a chance to review it. But basically, this is a proposed resolution open for discussion here today, and changes and whatever you guys would like to do to vote on. Just stating that you can see that kind of in our statutory purpose for NERC has included planning and programming for transportation, economic development, and the environment. And whereas that we've adopted our NWI 2050 plus plan that prioritizes climate environmental initiatives, including greenhouse gas reduction planning and other environmental targets. And we are currently administering several U.S. EPA grants. And on March 10th, which is after our last meeting, they made the official announcement. We'd seen reports of it, but On March 10th, the EPA announced they were canceling over 400 grants. As of right now, we don't know, we don't believe any of them directly impact ours.
We still have 2 that are frozen, but we don't know.
It just came out like yesterday,
Oh,
they're canceling.
800
so I
more?
guess I have to look again.
Okay. So, in light of that, I guess, in light of that, kind of what's coming down with those, with the EPA and the federal government in general, we just, I think it's important, and I think the committee sort of agreed in that discussion that we reaffirm our commitment to protecting and improving environmental quality of life in Northwest Indiana, including and we sort of focused on the current areas where we had federal grants that we're administering. Obviously, in our environment committee charter, there's a lot of other environmental water quality, wetlands, and things like that. But for the purposes of this resolution, we included but not limited to improving air quality, including greenhouse gas reduction, community tree planting initiatives, brownfield redevelopment, environmental justice, capacity planning, and natural hazards readiness planning. So just, I'd like to have our committee reaffirm those commitments, and hopefully we'll bring it to the full commission for their endorsement of that as well at the next meeting. What's the next meeting?
May 15th is the
15th.
full commission.
I'll move that this Environmental Policy Committee affirm the resolution and send it on to the NERC board.
Second, but a comment.
Yes.
It says, and maybe looking at the wrong date here, but the date for May is the 5th, no, that's Thursday, it's correct, I'm sorry, I was thinking.
This is 15th. Sorry, I didn't have that in front of me,
Okay.
sorry.
I withdraw the comment.
You keep the second, or do you keep the second on that, or?
I second it.
Okay. Any discussion? Any,
I just have an edit, and I think you and I went back and forth with a few
Yeah, we
copies,
did.
and I
Yeah.
think one of my edits got missed. It's that we're actually, no, it's my, we're a sub-grantee of, to US EPA, and the third one, we're not actually.
Where is that? Where are you changing?
On the third whereas, we're not actually currently administering any EPA grants, we're sub-grantees of others. So if you just change administering, NERC is currently a sub-grantee of several.
Okay. So then I amend the motion to read that we affirm the resolution affirming NERC's environmental commitment and planning as corrected.
okay. Is your second, you accept that, or your second? All right. Any other discussion?
Any specific projects that you can detail as far as, is it brownfields that you're referencing?
Well, I wasn't sure whether to be too specific or less specific in this instance. I don't have a brownfield grant right now, though they're gonna announce those in the next couple weeks. We did the climate planning we're doing with CMAP and the environmental justice capacity planning, those are both mentioned in here specifically.
We do have, I'll just note, I don't know that it needs to be amended, but we do also have grants through the U.S. Forest Service, Great Lakes Restoration Initiative. We have not received any indication that those are going to change. But
We got the trees paid for.
and we got the
The
trees on
hillside.
this spring, we got the trees on this fall, but it just thought it was worth mentioning that in addition to EPA, we also have funding from.
Each one of the items that you mentioned in the resolution, some are standing and some are in discussion, in contest, things like that. So it's just important that you have it here, especially when we look at something like environmental justice and the governor's, executive order bullshit. So I take that out.
Strike that.
So
Basically,
keeping it there is important, because whatever that issue is as it comes along, this group is gonna need to address it in one way or another.
Right.
I'm wondering if, since we're in the discussion mode, if we should have specifically mentioned the electric vehicles. I didn't think of that until I was looking at Ryan, because those are, or is it, it's in air quality and greenhouse gas reduction, but we didn't mention electric vehicles or alternative fuel.
Do you wanna see electric vehicles mentioned in there?
I don't think it's particularly beneficial to have it in there.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's the,
but
In the general language, you know, we do have improving air quality,
Right.
including greenhouse gas reduction, so, I don't know.
so we've been back and forth, should we be more specific or less specific? Should we?
Yeah, and the intent isn't to call out one particular grant
Right.
or really even poke any barriers necessarily. It's more, you know, this is our commitment locally, regardless of what grant funding comes down, you know, in this region, we want to protect these things. However we do it, whether it's through a specific grant or if it's coordination with community, between communities or staff work, whatever it is, this is our commitment regardless of, you know, anything that comes out from the federal government, so that was my intent.
so on a previously awarded project through the Department of Energy, we have a project that's the Midwest ZEBI Corridor project that focuses on hydrogen and electrification of medium duty and heavy duty trucks along the I-80 corridor. And under the previous presidential administration, everything was EJ, DEI, and we were required to change the community benefits program to take out any DEI reference.
Right.
And at the end of the day, it comes down to documenting the EPA approved language as it references non-attainment, ozone and air quality for this particular area. And I can't remember the adjective that replaced the transportation burden population.
Oh, we already had that one.
Right? So at the end of the day, it's a changing of nomenclature and how you describe and categorize people that live in a certain demographic. And after it's all said and done, it's just changing of words. And I'm hoping that it's going to be business as usual and it's not going to be as political maybe come after July. So here's the hoping.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, then all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right, thank you very much. We'll submit this to the full commission.
Thanks for working on this too.
Yeah, I do think it's great to make a reference to it and take a pledge.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, report from planning partners. Right.
All right, good morning, everyone. I do have handouts available and did kill a lot of trees, so I apologize. But we do have some new grant funding. Whoa, grant funding was canceled. And it's for electric vehicles. So we do have some funding through our Go EVIN program that is for level 2 and DC fast charging station. We have about $3.2 million for DC fast charging stations and about $170,000 for level 2 charging. For level 2, it's up to $10,000, up to 75% of the total cost of the project. And for DC fast charging, it's up to $200,000 per location, up to 75% of eligible project costs. This is going to be published next week, so this is not open to the public as of yet, and so the application form is not going to be a typical RFP grant application, if you will. It's going to be more of a Google form and fill it out on the Go EVIN website. And we will be having a Closing the Gap Tour Roadshow. We're going to have 8 presentations that we're going to be doing across 8 locations across the state. The location here in Northwest Indiana is going to be on June 20th from 12 p.m. to 2 at the Lake County Convention and Visitors Bureau. And so that is going to be coming up, and there's some details on this as well, but applications are going to be due by June 30th. So it's going to be relatively easy, and it's funding that you can also, it's state funding, so it's not federal funding. So if any of the other pause programs do become available, this can be used as cost share, which is a great opportunity to deploy some zero emission vehicles and needed infrastructure across the area. With that, NIPSCO's GoEVIN charging stations across northern Indiana are switching over software, and they're changing their network host. So at the end of the day, what this means is this might be the only time in history that NIPSCO will be providing free electricity at the charging stations, or free electricity ever. So the stations are going to be open, and they're going to be free for the next couple of weeks as they transition to a new network. So we also have a Tesla wall charger donation, and we're working with a lot of municipalities and nonprofits, but we have been donated 52 universal wall chargers and 26 pedestals that are spoken for, but we do have an opportunity for more, and these can also be used in that funding, the GoEVIN funding opportunity. The Indiana Diesel Wise funding, now this was due back in February 28th. We had submitted 3 port projects, 1 construction project, and 1 propane garbage truck project for the city of Whiting. And these are all projects that reduce ozone and CO2 and improve air quality here in Northwest Indiana. There's some federal projects that just want to mention are still on pause: CFI, Indiana NEVI, Electric Vehicle Charging Reliability and Accessibility Accelerator. Some project updates, some good news finally. City of LaPorte has placed an order for 2 EVs that was funded through the NERC NOVA funding. LaPorte County took delivery of 3 Ford F-150 Lightnings 2 weeks ago. That was funded through NERC NOVA. The Lake and Porter County ZEV project, the first 3 EVs of this 80 electric vehicle program for Lake and Porter counties are expected to be delivered for the city of Lake Station in June. The interlocal agreement is still in development, and the city of Portage has their clean fuel project. First 2 of the 4 CNG refuse trucks, which brings their fleet up to 9 CNG refuse trucks for the city, have been delivered, and the remaining CNG trucks for this particular project are expected to be delivered this month. 2023 National DARE program, which is an EPA program, we haven't had any issues as far as being canceled. It's bipartisan liked across the board, but that was $11.8 million in awards, and projects are ongoing, and some are completed but expected to all be done by September 30th of 2027. As I spoke about before, we have the Midwest ZEVI I-80 corridor program. We have the Gary Area Career Center that we're working with their students for the EV Grand Prix, in which they get an electric go-kart and STEM education to build the go-kart, and then they get to test drive the go-kart at the annual EV Grand Prix program. There's an opportunity for more schools to be involved in this, so if schools are interested in getting a $25,000 electric go-kart, this is a perfect opportunity to trick kids into learning and have it be fun. The EPA Clean School Bus Program, School City v. Chicago was awarded $795,000 for 2 electric and 3 propane school bus replacement, and that is just started back up because they were frozen since like the beginning of the year. Partners for Clean Air scholarships, they were due yesterday, and just want to make note of that. Please, if you have any annual fleet surveys are due by May 15th, and please submit your annual reports to be included for nomination at our annual conference as Green Fleet Member of the Year. We had 2 past events. On April 12th, we had the Porter County Earth Day. That was a wonderful event, very well attended. We had 2 EVs there. And then on just last Saturday, we had the Michigan City Earth Day Extravaganza, where we had 11 EV electric vehicles there as well. Upcoming events, we have the Air Quality Awareness Week, which is next week. And then we have the Partners for Clean Air Luncheon, stole my thunder, Mallory, on June 12th. So please register with these nice documents that are here. And then once again, the GoEVIN Closing the Gap Tour is gonna be from the 3rd week of June, but the most important location that it's going to be in Northwest Indiana is going to be at the South Shore Convention Center and Visitors Authority from noon to 2 on June 20th. that is all I have. So I do have handouts. Please feel free to stop by.
All right, thank you. All right. What's the program? Any updates?
Morning, everybody. Coastal unfortunately does not have any handouts. Maybe that's good or bad, depending on who you ask. I guess just kind of some general updates. We really don't have a whole lot of like nitty-gritty details, unfortunately. There just continue to be a lot of unknown variables at the federal level. We are federally funded. Those of you who are interested in grants, I wish I had useful information for you. We know that our 2026 budget will be the same as 2025, but we don't know what 2025 numbers are at this time. So we're just, we know it's gonna be different. We know the process is gonna look different. Our budget's gonna be different, but we just don't have any specific information for you yet. As a general rule, again, just veering towards the grants, since that's kind of my wheelhouse. Usually our application process, our first deadline is in early October. If you do have ideas for a project and you're interested in still giving it a good college try this year, please, by all means, still feel free to reach out to me. I will happily communicate everything I can. I don't know if there's anything about the Great Lakes Coastal Resiliency Study is still ongoing, still in the works. I don't know if we've had any information on whether that's going to be particularly different or not, but we're still kind of moving full steam ahead as fast as we can. So we are coming up on the period in that project where we're going to be asking for stakeholder input. So if we pester you about, your feedback on the resiliency study, please hear us out and help us with that. Really critical that we get as many people involved as possible.
That's the Army Corps?
That's the Army Corps of Engineers project with all of the other Great Lakes coastal states. So it's this huge initiative. It took us ages to get here. We're really excited and we're really gonna need your help. So please bear with us with that one. Any other big ticket things you want to talk about?
Let's see, so we are just wrapped up our draft 309 document, which is our program enhancement.
Yep.
It's a voluntary program for coastal states to participate in and opportunities for us to better provide to our partners throughout the coastal area. I will say that the draft has gone for review to NOAA, and I believe we'll be presenting a draft as well at Coastal Advisory Board meeting, whenever our next one will be on that. Priority topic area for us in that draft is going to continue to be coastal hazards. That's what we're going to move forward with, the primary focus being on shoreline-related hazards, including shoreline erosion, lake level change, and coastal storms. Related to that, this past Sunday, we had our aerial flights of the shoreline that they collected ortho imagery and elevation data with the LiDAR surveys. So that has been completed, and we expect to have that information available sometime this fall. That information will eventually be posted up to our new and revised Indiana Coastal Atlas, which should be coming out sometime in the next 3 months or so.
Question, we have a Lake Louise within our township boundaries, and not all of it is in the DOA. So there's an area where there's a lot of wooded area where we've had a lot of trees that were lost. And so seems to be a lot of dead wood there, and I'm concerned about possible fires. I know we got plenty of water today, but they dry out. And is there anything that I can do or indicate to somebody in our area or our county to clean that up? We're in the coastal area.
Off the top of my head, I am skeptical that is something that NOAA would allow us to use grant funding for. Are you just more concerned about?
I just want information on
just how to clear it out, report
right,
it, that
because
is a
there's
potential
about
hazard.
10 acres that's 13 acres that's outside the POA, so it's part of the township, and it's basically just woods. But there's been a lot of dead trees in there. And, a lot of deadwood, and that, you know, what happened. I don't want it to happen in Union Township to have a major fire, because that would not be good.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like in
It's a
specific.
great question.
There's a DNR grant from the Department of Community and Urban Forestry that might be able to address that issue. If you have, yes, I've got a contact, I'll provide you with my card and try to get you
Thank
there.
you.
I just wanted to say to Joe, I've had two communities that, had the opportunity to use the Atlas, and what's up there now, anyway. They are really, really excited about this and very supportive of it, so it'll be a good tool when you're done.
Yeah, it's really great the state paid for that aerial work, the LiDAR and the high def ortho and stuff.
Yep, so the state has got its program that we participate in. The funding for our shoreline, our annual shoreline, is actually from NOAA. So it is separate, but we do partner with the state to get like a cost benefit of a reduction on that. So we do coordinate with them on that. We've actually gotten an MOU with them this year for the first time. Cool. So yeah, absolutely great partnership.
All right, thank you. Does item have anything else to add from the previous? Okay.
Can I make a request that you include in the reports from your planning partners, you include the Northwest Indiana Stormwater Advisory Group, which is all 42 municipalities in Lake Porter and LaPorte County, on what the MS4 Stormwater Group is doing. The state annual meeting is May the 12th and 13th at the Embassy Suites in Plainfield. This is open to anyone that is working on stormwater. In July, Purdue University LTAP has their stormwater conference, which is a one-day event, but it's incredibly successful. The week of July the 7th, I'm not quite sure what date he's chosen for that. At the Indiana MS4 Partnership meeting, we offer free, no-cost educational tables. IDEM is going to have one of those tables, so a lot of things that they're doing, particularly as it relates to the Great Lakes Initiative annual meeting that they're going to have, we'll have all that out there. Clean Communities will be there. There'll be a lot of information that municipalities could pick up. This is the 17th year for the Indiana MS4 annual meeting, and we, on a consistent basis, have over 95% attendance from regulated communities in the state of Indiana, so it is a good opportunity to attend.
The LTAP stormwater is July 8th.
Yes.
Yeah.
July 8th, is that the date?
Yeah.
Because I know they're gonna take you in the field one day, is it the day
Yeah.
after?
The day before. I think.
Okay, the day
Yeah.
before, and then they're also gonna do a tour of the campus on some of the, MCMs that they have on campus, but the one day is good. Thank you, I didn't have that date, I'll tell you.
And we will, unless there's an objection, we'll add that's a good idea, nice way. One more thing for you to do, or someone else from nice way might come and do.
Well, we finally got, NAFSA is gonna have an education table at the annual meeting now too.
Yes, I'll be sitting at that for a while, I think.
Sir, could somebody tell me that we're hosting the Great Lakes Beach
Yes, in November.
in November?
And we're working with IDEM and Nicole Messenger with that, and with the Region 5 group. One of the things that the MS4 partnership is supplying the funding, we'll set up the registration page for them and all that kind of stuff, because the state can't do that. But that's gonna be it's gonna be at the casino in Michigan City, and it's gonna be a pretty significant event, and for Indiana to host that. So, as it gets closer, I was looking at our dates for our meetings that, we're working on a registration page. It'll be like a flyer for, CVent or whatever it is. Then we'll have that we can distribute. I'll check with Nicole on what she wants, and I'll be able to share that not only with this group, but with the commission too.
Any other announcements?
Yeah, at our February meeting for this group, I presented along with IUN about the steel project that we're doing. And we've had a woefully small response, so I'm begging you, I joined Partners for Clean Air, as we sat here, it was very easy. I can guarantee you, it will take you even less time to do this, the survey. You can find the link on page 2 of the meeting notes, it's in the second full paragraph, the very last thing. If you want an even shorter link, I created an even shorter link, so it's bit.ly/IUN steel. So if you could like take a few minutes and do that, we really appreciate it. If you have any place that you can share it or online or with an email list, we really would like these results to be statistically significant, and frankly, we're nowhere near that right now, so we need to boost. Thanks.
Absolutely.
I'll go ahead and send that out to the Nice White group too.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing, thank you.
I guess since announcing events, that a reminder that the National Brownfields Conference is in Chicago at McCormick Place on August 6th through 8th. So registration for that should be opening soon. And they also usually they have community scholarships for registration fees. So if you're interested in brownfield community development, there's usually like a technical track and a community involvement track and a bunch of mobile tours, and I accept my Indiana mobile tour. Anyway, so there'll be more information about that too.
All right, any other announcements? All right, here's none. Our next meeting, scheduled meeting is August 7th, so unless something else comes up.
Oh, that's during the Brownfield Conference.
Oh, yeah.
That may be,
It's right
that
in the
may
middle
be
of the
being readjusted.
It's right in the middle of the Brownfield Conference.
We can also the first Tuesday in June is what? The first Tuesday in June is the 3rd. June the 3rd, 9 a.m. The Nice White group is in the town of Long Beach and down at the new fire station from 9 till about 11:30. You're welcome to come. Item's going to give a presentation on this Great Lakes project that they're doing. We're going to have a presentation from the town of Long Beach too, and maybe a few other MS4s.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We are adjourned.
Thank you very much.